And something about this has really been bugging me for the last couple of weeks, and I haven't been able to put my finger on what it would be. This message that people should feel seen, known, and valued in the workplace. It's not new, and it's not bad. Like, what a great message, right? Who wouldn't want that to be the case? But I finally put my finger on what I think it is, and there's really two reasons. There's this book that I discovered a couple of weeks ago called The Power of Mattering. This guy named Zach Mercurio. And Zach, this guy is very well educated and experienced. He knows organizational development and sort of the organizational psychology piece, as far as I can tell. And the book, Mattering, is incredibly well researched, backed by science. There's tons of interviews and citations. And it kind of argues that leaders should make sure our employees feel seen, known, and valued, I think is the general term that's used in the book. Seen, known, and valued, because when that happens, you find your people are more motivated and there's higher levels of engagement. The book talks about this mattering instinct that we have from birth, where it's a survival instinct where it drives us to feel like we matter to a caretaker because that equals our survival. If we do matter to a caretaker, we will survive. So I think that's some interesting science. But this idea isn't new. We've kind of talked about Gabor Mate's whole approach to environments that lend themselves to healthy human development. What does a human need for healthy development? And we know that our institutions, organizations, companies, the places that we spend 90,000 hours of our lives are deforming people at scale because they are environments that do not provide fertile soil for healthy development for human beings. The book has been posted everywhere on LinkedIn in all the leadership, uh, you know, geeky leadership circles and all the leadership accounts. Everyone is posting it. And a lot of the captions are, this should be required reading for leaders and managers and all humans. And I've learned so much from this book. And it sounds kind of revelatory, the tone of people who have read this book. So I picked it up and gotten through. I'm just over a third of the way through. And it's a great read, but something about it has been bugging me. And I haven't been able to put I haven't been able to put my finger on what it is. Why would this bug me? This message that people should feel seen, known, and valued in their organizations, needed by their companies and their bosses. Like, what's wrong with that? Why does it matter that people have found it so helpful for their own leadership? And I think I finally put my finger on it. Not my foot, my finger. And there's two reasons. The first one is that I'm trying to figure out how to put it into words. Books like this, with frameworks and resources put out by like Simon Sinek and others, propose tools and training that are designed to modify the behavior of our employees and people on our teams. So we have people on our teams, we have goals we need to hit. We want to hit those goals better, these organizational goals. And so what if our people felt a certain way and therefore produced, therefore engaged, therefore our retainment, we'd retain our employees, which is cheaper than getting new employees, all that kind of stuff. So all of these tools, resources, and trainings are in service to the growth of the organization and the organizational goals, which feels a little icky to me. And if you think that that's not the case, I wrote a quote down. Employees that feel lonely are less likely to work efficiently and will struggle to be mentally and emotionally present. They're also 3 times more likely to have low job satisfaction. So this is the premise of the whole thing is about workplace performance. How do we extract higher levels of performance from the people that are on our teams. So that's the first thing that bugs me, that it's manipulation. It's using these types of tools that leverage basic human decency to get certain behaviors from the people on our teams. We're extracting behaviors out of people by employing these tools to cause them to feel certain things. That feels icky to me, and I don't like that. And it has been the dominant sort of narrative of what a leader is since the late 1700s, early 1800s, what a leader should do for the good of the organization. And the second thing that bugs me about this is probably the deeper thing, the thing that I feel more intensely than the first thing, and that is this. The perceived problem is that leaders have a gap to close. If they would just behave this way, if they would just be empathetic, if they would just, make sure that their people feel cared for, that would solve this problem, and we need to close that gap. But what we're doing is treating symptoms. They're downstream indicators of a deeper problem. There's hidden disconnects. And what we're doing, and this includes Simon Sinek, Adam Grant, Brene Brown, all heroes of mine, we're all getting to how can we power a different set of behaviors in the workplace. And we put it on leaders to try to do their best to make that happen. Buy this book, go to this conference. The entire leadership industry has been built around that idea, but we never really addressed the hidden disconnects. One of those hidden disconnects, maybe the biggest, is that our definition of the word lead, the word leadership, is off. And I don't need to talk about what we put into the word leader. There's tons of material on that. What does it mean to lead versus manage? What are the 5 things you should be doing as a leader? Great leaders do these 3 things, this one thing. What I want to talk about for the next minute or two here is what is missing from our modern definition, really the hand-me-down definition from the late 1700s, the narratives we're still operating under when it comes to leading other humans. A word that I've not often heard in conversation about leading is transformation. When I say transformation, I mean a profound experience, a change in the nature of who someone is at an indoctrinary level. And what happens when someone is experiencing that kind of personal growth, that kind of transformation, is there's an outpouring of new kinds of feelings and behaviors that weren't there previously, but they're natural expressions. And often those behaviors tend to be the very things that we are trying to get leaders to do with books like this: caring for others, treating people with empathy, seeing a person and trying to understand them and what their needs are, creating environments where other humans can experience the transformation that we are experiencing. The natural expressions of transformation are the very behaviors that we're trying to teach leaders to execute on, that we're giving them frameworks and ways to maintain empathy and do all these things for their people to feel seen, known, and valued. But it's a natural, effortless outcome of the change that someone is experiencing. It's possible that every single trait we are chasing after and striving for in these frameworks and these tools, these books, could be a natural expression of our humanity. If we're experiencing transformation at a fundamental level, these behaviors come with the territory. Should be effortless. And I'll give you an example of what I mean. There's this guy, Chesterton, I think, who's got a quote that I'm going to butcher, but basically, a child sits on a ledge or sits on a wall and kicks her legs, not out of obligation, but out of overflow. There's an abundance, an overabundance of energy, and it has to go somewhere, and it goes into the little legs, and the legs kick. It's channeled through that activity. She doesn't force it to happen. It's kind of like if I know I need to buy my wife flowers, and I do that, and I bring them and present them because it's the right thing to do. That has some value, certainly. The fact that I followed through on that means something, but it's not the same as when I am compelled to buy them as a outpouring of emotion. I have to channel this emotion I have for my wife into something, and the next thing that I can think of to do is to buy her this living thing as an expression of what I'm feeling. Like discipline and devotion have their place, and they will get you through some tough times. But discipline and devotion are the lowest form of relationship, the lowest form of connectedness. It's much better for those things that we want to be a natural expression of who someone is than for them to be forcing it by executing on a plan, a scalable set of frameworks, or whatever the case is. Where if baked into the definition of leader at a societal level, leader equals transformation, there will be an outpouring, an overabundance of a natural expression of all of these behaviors that we're trying to manufacture to make our employees feel a certain way, to manipulate them, to extract certain behaviors out of them, to drive the bottom line of the organization. But if in the very definition, the implied understanding of what it means to be a leader is buried this concept of transformation, it would change the whole game. What if you told someone that, hey, I got a promotion, I'm managing a team, I'm going to lead, and they're like, whoa, you're being a leader, what's the transformation like you're changing a lot, right? Is that hard? What's that experience like? Tell me about it. That is a whole different conversation than, oh, you're a leader, did you get a pay raise? I think we can all agree that the system we have today produces leaders who are educated but not transformed. They speak fluent KPI and the why of the company, and here's our values, but they're unable to empathize with the needs of the people in their care. That is why we need people who have careers like Simon Sinek or Zach Mercurio, creating tools and frameworks to train leaders to execute these behaviors for the sake of their companies when we're missing it. We're missing that deeper level, which is why are humans experiencing transformation? So, I've said the word transformation a lot. I'm going to leave us with a question. In everything we do, how can we pay attention to the state change, the micro transformation that happens when one of our people come to work uh, in the morning and leave in the evening? How are they feeling when they show up? How are they feeling when they leave? How are they feeling when they anticipate coming the next day? And what change are they experiencing in their own life? How do we create environments that tend to result in genuine human transformation, experiencing the steps forward to maxing out your potential and all the good things that come with it?